Matt Gannon, Jers. We're back. And we're honest podcasters. We try our best to share with the people the reality of what they're listening to. And we connected a little earlier today for what was going to be the first half of today's pod. We then did an interview with a man we were excited to talk to, and there's a great backstory of how this came to be, what that we'll get to, and he'll talk about it. And that went so unbelievably well, and it was so great that we decided to redo the first part of the pod because we wanted to talk again after the interview. And so here we are. This is take two. This is take two of this portion of the pod. The other one will be lost to the ether with other Vinceric's edited moments, which there's not many, but people have said before we want the moments. Maybe one day, a compilation.
Maybe one day. And we have to just give the credit to Stu that he deserves. Awesome interview, awesome guy. And thank you again for coming on if you're listening to this. But yeah, and also we wanted to kind of polish our podcasting because we've taken a few weeks off. So
that's fair.
It probably would have been funny to listen to the first version of this. We didn't really mess up, but we weren't fresh. We're fresh now. And Stu got us fresh too. Stu got us after no potting for a month. So hopefully we did a good job.
I think it was good that we did the warm-up because to your point, it's been a while. We haven't even talked the only time I've talked to you on the phone, we've obviously texted a healthy amount, was you called me after the 18th inning after the 15th inning of the Mariners against the Tigers. It was like 1 a.m. Eastern time. And I was in a true... I'm glad we're potting again too, because I didn't talk about this we didn't talk in detail about much of this on a V1, but that's the last time I've heard your voice was when I was in like a state of both ecstasy and like death.
Were you on the East Coast for that, or were you on the West Coast for that?
Oh no, I was in New York for that.
So it was late night. We were both late night. Yeah.
And I had to wait all day for the game, and I was already so nervous the whole day waiting for it to happen.
What a feeling! Feeling!
It is a unique feeling. The baseball playoff sweat, it hasn't happened much in my life, as longtime listeners will know. Mariners fan, special. But I'm glad that we did that. We warmed up, and then to your point, it is glad we warmed up because I didn't know, and now we do, and I hope that he comes back on the pod in the future. I think he will. He's just a great all-around guy. Stewart Hagestad's a takesman internally. Like, he's a takesman who's been exposed to a lot of cool things in the game of golf. And for us, we're the level of exposure to golf that Stu has to us is as big of a
beyond anything.
It's as word as
new word to the dictionary. We'll come up with one.
And but the fact he's also a takesman, I didn't know that. That's sick. And it was perfect vibe for the pod. So again, just shout out to him, and that'll be at the end of this. And we wanted to be able to give it the proper kind of hype that it deserves, because it was. I think people will be excited. I think people who listen to this pod will enjoy getting to know a guy that like we'll explain the origin story on the pod. You'll hear how that came to be, but like we didn't know him, and he was just the coolest guy ever. And so I'm excited for people to be able to listen to that.
Yeah, 100%. And he's a guy that many people have takes on. So it's going to be awesome to hear what he has to say. And I could tell if he comes on the pod in the future, he was holding some takes back. So the more we talk, hopefully in the future, I think the takes will brew and he'll really say what's on his mind. I could tell that there were some things he might have wanted to say that he was like, I'll just hold off till next time.
Yeah, but I think he mentioned
a ton of great takes.
He's learned to adapt to being in the public eye. Like you
got to do it.
He talks about on the pod. Like he grew into the public eye a little bit later. Yeah, we talk about Dog. Like it was 25 when he won the Mid-Am. So yeah, great interview. And to your point on that, he has more takes that we didn't talk about. We regular listeners will know, and if you're listening this late in the season, you're a regular listener, and we appreciate you so much. And we can't do this without you. We could never have Stu on the pod if it wasn't for the people who support Vinceric's throughout the rest of the year and throughout all the different things that we do. So huge shout out to everybody who's listening. But the people who are listening now are probably regular listeners. They know the bits from the show. He has takes outside of golf that overlap with like the sphere. For example, for work, I'm working in fintech. He has fintech takes. He said something after the pod specifically about the industry. Like we could go every direction that exists of things that we talk about on the pod with Stu. And he probably is in the 95th percentile of being an expert on that thing. Andy has takes.
Lyrics is a very broad multimedia network. It is not just golf. We can cover a lot of things. So I agree with you.
So I'm excited, yeah, for a future pod with Stu. But that'll be on at the end. Probably we'll do a few minutes. We've got a lot of golf. This is another, we can hone our takes from what we talked about at the beginning.
I'm going to talk about so many different golfers.
Yeah.
Say the opposite.
Yeah, I'm going to fade all the people that in the version 1 of the pod I was in favor of. We'll talk some golf because we've been busy. I've been traveling. You're down on the Bermuda. That's where we last left you, was re-interact. We didn't. We'll think of some more questions along the way too, because we needed Stu's take on what's his favorite grass type. We didn't get that level of conversation. But you're back on the Bermuda. You're back down there. What have you been doing? How have you been golfing? Your swings, I've seen a lot of different types of swings over the last month on Instagram. Some good, some bad. How's the game?
Game's good. I 77 yesterday. Kind of came out of nowhere. Was playing poor, but okay, in Vegas. Shout out Gio. Shout out Gio, playing with Gio on Friday. One of the loyalist Vince Derrick subscribers that's ever existed. So the game's there. It feels good to be back on the Bermuda. I'm a fadesman off the tee. I'm committing to it. I know you don't agree with it, but the fadesman, I'm keeping the ball in play off the tee. Those hooks go out of bounds. They just do. So the draws are feeling good into the greens though, but I'm a fadesman off the tee. My swing thought off the tee is mega slice. I just go up there and I think to slice it as hard as I could possibly slice it, which would not work for a lot of people, but being a natural drawsman.
I would be
yeah,
beyond off the planet if I had that swing thought.
So I'm thinking, I get to the tee, I think mega slice. I rehearse mega slice as left as I could swing, and it's fade. So the game is in a good shape, and we need you to get some reps in because you have a hard P, Florida in February.
Yeah, I've hard penciled it in February golf down in Florida. I haven't played my own clubs in Florida. I played that rental set, or did I have my own clubs when we played the firmest golf course in America outside of Sawgrass?
That
place was
the yard?
firm. Yeah.
The yard?
That was a tough golf course.
No, you used Kohlers.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And you had a long streak of beating me, but I'm fresh off of 2 straight wins. That's where we left it last summer. And it's quite possible that I don't swing again until I'm down there in Florida.
Yeah. And you haven't been to South Florida in your life, right?
I've been once to Miami.
Oh, okay. So you know culture. No. Yeah. Soon enough.
Okay. And you've been watching some G along the way, I would assume.
Yeah, I've been watching some G. I can't watch football anymore because shout out YouTube TV. Can't watch football, so I'm gonna have to watch more G going forward as well. So the takes are gonna be dialed going forward.
Oh, you're caught up in the ESPN YouTube.
Are you not?
So I never fully embraced the streaming wars, I would say. I've kept cable forever because mainly for watching sports, because I'm like, all I care about is watching sports. I can trust good old-fashioned cable to not have any lag during the game or like cause issues. And I think I've paid a higher price because of it. But now I may win in the end because the streaming wars may end up going back to
Iron Throne. Yeah. Yeah. It's Saturday was a little tough. Like I thought it was going to all be resolved by noon. I'm like, yeah, they can't actually do this. And not that I'm so in tune with college football like I was in my past life, but like you get on the couch at like 1 o'clock whenever time, like you just want to turn the football game on. You just can't do it. And I kind of like, it's Kohler, what do we do now? So we're going to try to maybe figure something out in the near future, but thankfully the Golf Channel is still good. So we can watch that.
On the college football front,
Washington is ranked.
We're ranked now. I'm not optimistic about the season. I will sit here and not say to like ride the bandwagon because I'm still not confident. But it may come down to the final game of the season against Oregon for a trip to the playoff. And we own Oregon when the game matters. And so I'm confident that we could win that game. So that's the little bit of hope that I have, is just the path is there. Our next 3 games are seemingly winnable, but I'm not here to make any promises. But I think in Seattle sports in general, it's a time of like, we've got a lot going on. The Seahawks are playing pretty good. The Mariners just had the craziest run that we've ever had. Husky basketball might be good this year. But another thing that we talked about earlier that you need a moment to shout out is I'm out of the Survivor that ChatGPT was doing because the Panthers beat the Packers last week to eliminate me. I'd made it down to like the final 1,500 out of the like 11,000. Toot your horn. We've talked bad about the Panthers on this podcast before, but you're rising.
Yeah, shout out Andrew Novak as well, the only other Panthers
Mm-hmm.
fan in the world I know. I have, like I said on our first take, I have not felt something as a fan in some time, and like being a Mariners fan, I guess like it's been bad for a while. Hopefully, I could get some of that magic. I don't need a Super Bowl. I need a playoff appearance.
You want to feel something.
Week 17, they're playing in Tampa. I already have it circled. Like it could be a meaningful game that I could drive 3 hours to.
Okay.
So if we can just get me to that week 17 with a $100 ticket for a meaningful football game, I'm in. So my loyalties in sports are running out as I kind of grow older, but the Panthers are kind of bringing me back in. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a loose-ended Mets fan. I don't care as much. And then everywhere else is like, I don't really care. But the Panthers are in my heart. I have a big Panthers tattoo on my leg. They're pulling me back in. So hopefully we can get something good in the next few months.
Do you think the reason that BSB Andrew Novak got into the Hero World Challenge is because the Panthers are playing better and Tiger was like, yeah, you're in?
It's definitely on the table. Like, I don't think, even if he had a poor year, it could be because he's the face of the Panthers and he has a podcast. So I think there's a good reason for that. Yeah.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Like, who could say no? Yeah. I don't know who could say no.
Okay. But you have been watching some golf. I've been keeping tabs on the golf as much as I possibly can. Haven't been able to watch quite as much, but checking the data and the results on a weekly basis. I'm going to list off to you all the people who have won golf tournaments that matter under us deciding that it matters since we last potted. And you tell me just general thoughts that come to your mind once you hear this list of people, and you can give takes on any of them that you want to. It's open season on how you take this information. I'll start with the PGA Tour. We have had the Sandy Farms, which was won by the worst putter on the PGA Tour, Stephen Fisk. Shout out BK was on him. Shout out BK. Beat Higo, who was trying to become the greatest weak field event player of all time. Xander's back at the Bay Current. I faded both Xander and Grazerman at the Bay Current. They finished 1-2. Mike T was third.
Next week.
Yeah, Xander's back. This to me stands out. Michael Brennan, fresh off of never being heard of by anyone besides Brentley Romine, would have for sure. Why didn't we talk to Brentley? He would have told us about Michael Brennan. We need to get him on the pod.
We can,
because I think like you should give your shout out again to your buddy who had the call. But I would broadly say like try to be in the know on up and coming golfers.
He knows.
And I am the first one to admit, before I looked at the odds for the week and saw like who's the 61-1 guy, which led me to do some more research on him. I had never heard of this guy, Michael Brennan, but he crushed it at Wake Forest. Shout out CY, shout out Zal. Brentley probably knows everything there is to know about this guy.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, we forgot to mention Brentley before, but Brentley, I think he had a whole little blurb about him, like that was like with deep cuts in there. So obviously, if you want to know more about college golf and you're not following Brentley Romine, follow Brentley Romine. He knows everything. But I'll give my shout out to Dom over at SGPN. Texted me 2 Mondays before the Bank of Utah Championship, 6:00 in the morning. They were fading. I was getting on a plane leaving Vegas. You know how those moments are. I see Michael Brennan on my phone. I'm like, what does this mean? Who is Michael Brennan? I get back. I land in Florida. He lists me off all of his results on the PGA Tour Latino America, and then he wins 10 days later. So shout out Dom. What a call on Michael Brennan. And let's, I guess, talk about Michael Brennan for a tad, because driver putter beyond imagination.
Yeah, to a different degree. Michael Brennan is the most driver putter winner maybe ever.
Rory Summit Club.
Yes. 8 off the tee, 5 putting. But dog too. Like, and we talked to Stewart about dog. We talk about Michael Brennan. He has dog. I put him instantly into the top 30 of the rankings based on what I saw. I didn't see a lot of his performance. I saw the highlights and I saw his swing, and I thought to myself, that's a nice swing for how far the ball's going. And we always talk about, like, he's not wailing away at it. He looks like he's just swinging normal. It's going dead down the middle, 800 yards every time. He had to show some dog. McCarty was up there trying to go back to back. That was just I don't know how we couldn't be ranting and raving, with the caveat that we never heard about this person until a week ago. So we also don't want to get too caught up in the hype. Where do you stand on the hype train? You're usually a hype guy. You're a lead guy. You're a claim guy. You like to get on early. You're a little late now because he's got to win on the PGA Tour. But are you hopping on at this moment, or are you going to ride it?
I wouldn't say I'm hopping on, but credit where credit's due. You held that lead over the weekend. I mentioned before he made a double early on Saturday. Most guys that are on tour for years, even guys that win, like they're not coming back from that. Like they crumble, they're out. And Michael Brennan made a ton of birdies following that. And like we also said, easy driving at the Bank of Utah, but you're off a little bit. You can make that 8 with these guys done it over the week. So he did not do that. He was driving it on an absolute string. Multiple drives over 400 yards. Hilarious. I know they're at altitude, but hilarious. And he was just making easy clinical birdies when he had to and making a ton of – he wasn't even making the most amount of putts. He was stuffing some shots because of the insane driving. He was just so far down there. He was like, all right, this wedge is going to go to 3 feet, and he was knocking it in. So just an unreal performance over the weekend from Michael Brennan.
2 questions. One is, obviously this is now a trend. At the Bank of Utah or the Black Desert, just bet the guy who's been crushing it on not the PGA Tour, because McCarty's now won and Brennan won. Who, if you could make, you get to pocket their career earnings from here on out. It goes directly into the bank account of Jers. Whose career earnings do you want, McCarty's or Michael Brennan's?
I want McCarty's. I think he's more polished. I think he's got the reps, and I think if he consistently plays a solid schedule like he didn't last year, he could be him. He finished whatever at the Masters. You don't just do that. So I'm gonna go with McCarty. I love the dynamic he's got with his caddy too. They're like best boys from college, young, and I mean the lefty. I like that. I like McCarty.
Hold on, I'm pulling up McCarty's stats. At the end of the day, they're both good at golf. We know that. We don't have enough information on Michael Brennan, but we kind of do, because he won, I think, 8 times at Wake Forest. Don't know if you've ever heard of any golfers. Do you know any other golfers from Wake Forest?
I heard this is trophy that they give out to Wake Forest golfers. There's a few.
Demon Deacon Golfer of the Year award, which has been
Demon
CY
Deacon,
for Tobacco the last
Road. Yeah, it's been CY. No, it was Zalatoris the year before that, but then it was CY last year, and now it's up for grabs.
So next year, will Brennan compete with Cameron Young? And apparently Zal, I saw a video where he declared that he's back. Knock on wood, we want Zal back. You're a Zal guy. We're not talking smack here. I've heard this a lot, that he's back and then he doesn't end up being back. So I'm not buying into any of the hype until we've get some evidence, and we want that evidence as much as anyone. Could Brennan push for the Demon Deacon Tobacco Road Golfer of the Year award next year?
He can make a push for it, but Cam Young is now a heavy. He's minus 700 to win that trophy. So yeah, he's minus 700. I mean, Cam Young can let you down. I will say that, but he's as confident. He's coming into this year as confident as anyone. Probably not named Scotty Scheffler, and I would say that fairly confidently that Cam Young likes golf again.
I will agree with that, but I will say that if you're making Cam Young minus 700, that means I'm probably getting like plus 500 or 600 at least, if not more, on Michael Brennan for the Demon Deacon Tobacco Road Golfer of the Year.
You taking it?
I'm taking it just because we already see that he can drive it as well as CY. And
well, yeah.
And it's only one event. I get it's one event. I'm the opposite. I usually don't like to get on the hype train, but I think I'm kind of getting sucked into the hype train here.
30-1, yeah.
That, like, if CY and Michael Brennan enter the back 9 tied for the lead, like at the Masters, I don't see any reason why Michael Brennan couldn't win.
I don't see any reason how that doesn't happen. Now that you
Yeah.
now that you bring it
Tommy,
up.
Michael Brennan, and CY going down the stretch at Augusta. Could you think of a better trio battling down the
Appointment.
stretch?
Appointment. That's absolutely appointment.
But yeah, I think Michael Brennan is the most interesting story so far that has happened in the 1 month that we didn't talk about golf. On the DP, we've had some fascinating results
Winners.
as well, because we were on a stretch going back to the Danish Golf Championship. Shout out the Viking Cup. That was won by Marco Penge. And Marco Penge at this point is basically a PGA Tour player. He's obviously going to be on the tour next year. Since he won.
Well, could be on a tour next year. We don't know for sure.
Do you think Majestics would pick him up? A rebuild around
Yeah.
Marco Penge? I like that.
Or they could. You said we have 3 new teams. He could be the fake Italian to start the Italian team. Because if you look at Marco Pence, he's an Italian. Like, he looks Italian. And he could be, like, the Italian team would be sick. LIV needs an Italian team, now that I think about it. They'd be
with Eduardo
classy.
as general manager.
Eduardo calling all the shots. And they would not be the most skilled team, but they would have some sort of, like, strategic hole advantage in, I don't know how. Like, they'd come up with a way to, like, amplify their points. And that because something would count for more on Sunday. So they would do something because of Dodo.
Eduardo is captain with a team, or Eduardo is general manager and president of Italian golf operations. He, with Penge as captain, Guido would be, I would want him on the team. Would you have Francesco be just an assistant, or would Francesco play?
Francesco could play, but we got Matteo. He's back. And we know that Chris Gotterup's Italian. Get him on the team. That's a team. Yeah, we can make
Chris Gotterup, Guido, and who'd you say?
Matteo.
Yeah, Matteo. Yeah, Monacero. That's a good team.
And Rocco Mediate's got to be Italian, so put him as another captain. The American Italian influence, like the Northeast guys, they can all be on the team. Yeah.
Because we didn't. This is I'm trying to make sure we didn't miss any good takes from V1 and return them here in V2 of the pod. One of my highlights in sports over the last month that we have since we've talked is that Carlos Alcaraz skipped essentially a signature event on the tennis tour. Like it would be like missing Wells Fargo or something like that, so that he could play in the Pro-Am of the Spanish Open with Rahm and Shane Lowry. And we're famously on the record that we believe that LIV is going to give a team to Carlos Alcaraz and he's going to play on the LIV tour. I'm feeling pretty good about that. If there's a prediction market for Carlos Alcaraz captaining a LIV team, trending in our direction.
Yeah, no, and it would be a really electric team. It would be probably led by the guy that's slipping my name right now, who beat Rahm at the Spanish Open.
Alfred Hidalgo.
Heredia. He has
Heredia.
Serious swag.
And
serious swag.
Hidalgo.
Serious swag. Yeah, Hidalgo.
I will also say shout out every person we've asked about Pablo the Rothball on the pod who we've interviewed knows them. That's the level of player that he is.
Yeah. Like, shout out Pablo.
I always expect people to be like, who are you talking about? And they're like, oh, yeah, Pablo. But when you have that much dog, people find out about it. That is a good debate. Now that are doing this backwards, you'll hear this when we talk to Stu. He thinks of dog in a different way. He once we explained how we were thinking about it, I wouldn't say he came around to our side, but he was able to understand like how we were presenting it. He initially presented it as like just greatly outperforming your driving, a Russell Henley type of player. That was do you have a final stance on, do you think Russ has more dog, or are you reassessing how you think about dog holistically? What was your stance there?
No, he thought of dog as dog to talent ratio and talent to dog ratio. Like we talk about like Sung J M, like high talent, low dog. We talk about guys like
CY up until he won the
the opposite, low talent, high dog, Davis Riley, the guy who won twice, who's 400-1, who's number 16 in the dog ranks, Brian Campbell, like low dog, high talent. That's what he thought in terms of dog. But once we like explained to him the calculation and what dog means is when you're tied for the lead on the back nine, no matter what form you're in, no matter if you've missed 8 straight cuts, do you have the dog to get it done? And he was like, okay, I see what you guys are saying now. This makes sense. So,
and I think what I'm saying is that, like, I'm glad he gave that perspective, because
it's another way to look at it.
We try to give well-rounded takes, but also be takesmen at the same time. And we've talked plenty of takes about Russell Henley, and we just saw what happened in the Ryder Cup.
I was
But
going to bring that up.
Just when you're a generational stripesman and you're bunting it off the tee, like, yeah, shout out Russ. And I'm glad we've never. It's the first ever shout out to Russ, I feel like, on the pod. Probably after Bay Hill, we gave a shout out to Russ. But I'm glad that we were able to give Russ his moment later on in the pod, because this has not been a safe space for Russ takes historically.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. Like, just throwing it out there and just striping it no matter what.
Yeah, hand up. I bumped up Russell Henley in my mental model after seeing it from Mr. Hagestad's perspective. The DP. I was saying that Marco Penge won, and then ever since August 14th of the Danish Championship, if you didn't watch it, I don't know what you were doing.
What were you doing?
Next year's Danish Championship is going to be special too. I tweeted the course a couple weeks ago. The winners after that were Alex Noren, Thriston Lawrence, Rory McIlroy, Alex Noren, 2 times for Noren. Just
snub.
Michael Kim.
Penge and snub. Penge and
yeah, Noren.
Who won? Penge and Noren. Yeah.
Bob Mack, Penge again. Tommy went over and continued to talking about dog, where we're seeing somebody who was always potentially the greatest golfer of all time, but now maybe will be. And then that stretch was broken by Jung Hwan Lee, who is certainly, I will say I didn't know his name until I woke up the next morning and saw that he had won the tournament. Was there anything on the DP that stood out to you over that stretch of time?
This is a perfect, talking about that tournament, actually, a perfect way to tie in talent to dog ratio with that golf course. Sung Jae was leading that golf tournament through either 54 or 36, and he threw up like a 77 in the, I don't know if it was Sunday or Saturday, and ended up finishing like T40 something. But also shout out that golf course too. That was a serious test. I had like a single B on Decky, and he was there, and then he had a rough start on Sunday. But I liked to watch. Actually, I didn't watch any of it because it wasn't on TV, but I like watching the highlights of it.
Yeah, the question is,
I couldn't find it on TV for some reason.
Jung Hwan shot -11. The next closest guy was -8. We give out majors when it's single-digit scoring conditions. It's not necessarily Jung Hwan Lee's fault.
Michael Brennan, winner at Maridoe.
That. I wonder. Oh, we have so. Stu's gonna have to come back on the pod because like he probably has the answers that we need. Like when the pod, we need to make a list of questions that come up during the pod because we finally have the answers. We know who we need to talk to.
Maridoe, ask it right now because he's probably gonna be watching.
If Stu, you do listen, let us know if you've ever played Maridoe Golf Club that's hosted the Live Maridoe event, because we gave out a major there this year because of how sick of a golf course it was. And then after Michael Brennan wins, and sometimes these things just come together in ways that you could truly never expect. Michael Brennan won in 2020. In the heart of COVID, Michael Brennan won the Maridoe Junior Invitational, his final junior event. Maridoe is a training ground and a sturdy golf course that this is even more evidence that the PGA Championship in a couple of years should not be in Frisco, but should be at Maridoe.
Yeah. They prove they have the infrastructure. They can host a golf tournament. Get it to Maridoe, because we'll know who the true PGA champion is that year. It'll be questionable whoever wins at Frisco, but if they should, you know how some guys, BG went over and played some golf courses. He didn't play the Scottish Open. Real ones will play Maridoe before they play Frisco. Because if I can get through Maridoe under par, what am I going to shoot at Frisco or wherever I say this place? Maridoe's a spot.
I'd add, we've talked about this many times. If you're like had a kid and you were going to train them to become the greatest golfer they could be. And Troon and Oakmont have largely, you just play those courses and give them a golf ball and clubs and say, figure out how to get this golf ball in the hole as fast as you can. Merido, at least swing by, like, and I would, and in the heart of the summer too, like June or July, like it needs to be 100 degrees.
Yeah, it just go those three. ISCO in the summer too, wherever the ISCO course is, it doesn't matter where it is, but go to an ISCO, it'll be tough. And then also, Stu Will gave us a great thoughts on Oakmont, which Adam, you guys know Adam and my thoughts on Oakmont because we've talked about it a ton. So great, very special take from Stu on Oakmont.
I almost grabbed my Oakmont hat before we recorded here just to honor the conversation, because I think it was a funny story that he had about his experience playing there, and it's a great take from the difference of us watching the carnage and somebody who actually has to deal with being on the receiving end of the carnage. It's respect, but also you'd rather play somewhere where you're not getting beat up like that. In Korea, you mentioned it, Willie is obviously a friend of the pod, friend of the program. Sungjae, and he used to have the best job in the world, caddying for Sungjae. Automatic top fives, free money. It hasn't been that way for a while. It's been a challenge. Sungjae still made it to East Lake because that's just how Sungjae rolls. But that was tough scene. I thought Sungjae was back and he was just going to go over to Korea and win. I didn't expect him actually to play good, but then when he did play good, it was kind of in his hands. Did you have any takes about the strokes gained dog in the final round from Willie and Sungjae there?
No, but I did text Willie on Friday, and I'm like, I didn't say anything about how they were playing. I was like, how do you like the course? And he was like, this place is awesome. I think it's fitting Sungjae really well right now. And then it just wasn't great over the weekend. But the vibes seem to be high, and he seems to be having a great time still. I think this could be is this Sungjae's bad year? If this is Sungjae's bad year, he made the tour championship. He made the tour championship with me hitting the irons. I've hit the irons before, and everyone knows it.
That may be where it went wrong. Yeah. If we look at the stats when Sungjae forgot how to hit his irons, there's one event that we could potentially point to that caused that. I will say, I'm glad you called out how much fun it looked like they're having, because Willie's social media across the P the other way. We usually talk across the P going to Europe. This is across the Pacific P. He looked like he was like, what a great. They were treating Sungjae like a king, as they should. And he was getting.
Did you see the post that Willie posted of Hideki, Kieta, and Sungjae? And he replied underneath it. He goes, I was thinking about tagging you, but I knew you'd see this because I had commented on it or something. And it was so good. That was absolute vibes. Absolute vibes.
But it was a tough weekend for Sungjae. 76-71. He ended up tied for 42nd after he was sniffing the lead there, and Jungwon Lee picks up the victory. I had Angel. He's playing nice golf. Young Angel. He could be.
Yeah.
If Carlos starts a new live team,
he'll be on the team.
Yeah.
Oh, the sweaters that team will have.
A live team of Rom, Carlos, Angel Aora, and
Jose.
Who rounds out that team?
I don't know if Jose is like on that team, to be honest. He doesn't fit that vibe. Yeah.
Who's
Massaveo? Massaveo could be on the team.
Louis?
Yeah.
Rom does like the young guns on his squad.
Well, Louis fits the sweater vibe more than Jose fits the sweater vibe.
It will probably be David Puig, because he sat courtside at the U.S. Open when Carlos won. And so Carlos, he needs his boy there. I think it'll be David Puig. But that leads into, we'll talk a tiny bit about the events this week, and then we'll kick it over to the convo with Mr. Stewart Hagestad, which kicks off by explaining how this conversation came to be, because the last pod we did, Walker Cup, we asked what Stu's favorite drink was. Somehow he saw that. He'll explain how he saw it. That led to all of this. Truly unbelievable stuff. And truly huge shout out once again to Stu. But there's still golf this week being played. And there's a serious event being played at Yaz Links. across the P. Home game for Tommy. Home game formerly for Adrian Moronk, who won in Saudi. Great call by you.
Lights out.
So it's a home game for players like that. It's a course that I once hit Thomas Peters, my first ever DP winner, was at Yaz Links back in the day.
Should have hit two.
What the greatest, blue, right? the greatest bunker shot ever? Victor Perez at Yaz Links?
No, second behind. Shout out. Oh, was it Martin Trainer? No. So Sepp is up there.
Martin Trainer was a great call by Stu.
I think it was Martin Trainer at the Shriners when he was plugged completely. And I'll find the clip.
Speaking of clips from the Shriners, first of all, where is the Shriners? Why aren't we playing the Shriners?
I don't know.
Like, that was a good event. And the reason I was thinking about clips from it is just the other day I think it was Jonathan Bird made an ace to win in a playoff. Can you imagine if we were like into golf when Jonathan Bird made an ace to win the Shriners?
What would it would be?
We would have talked about it. We would have never potted again.
No, it was Martin Laird. Actually.
Oh, out of the bunker? Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, this is when Vic Perez spins it backwards out of the bunker into the hole and wins. And then last year, Paul Waring, who maybe the most surprising winner in DP history, and that's saying something. Would you agree with that? To win Abu Dhabi?
I already wrote my early DP write-up for you, and that was how I read it, how it started off. Who could forget Paul Waring? What a win that was. And he's not in the field.
No, that's the thing. The last two winners, Paul Waring didn't qualify, and Vic Perez is playing the WWT.
Paul Waring was on the PGA Tour this year, was he?
And it was very tough.
I don't even know how much he played. I think he was injured.
He WD'd at the Scottish. He probably was like over there and was just like, I gotta stay over here when he WD'd from the Scottish, because before that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 missed cuts and a T47 in Canada for Paul. But his win here, when was the last time he had won a tournament before he won this? I don't know. Shout out Data
Golf. I was looking yesterday a long time.
The 2018 Nordia Masters Viking Cup.
It's always Viking.
It always comes up Viking. But no, he's not in the field. I hope if he's injured, that he's getting better soon. And I assume he'll make his way back to the DP next year, and that will be where we're give Paul another look. But he won here last year, which makes me like, the question becomes, this is a very top heavy DP field, and we just talked about how until that we went strokes gained home game in Korea last week, it had been all tour level players winning the events, and it's been top of the B domination on the DP. Are you looking top of the board today or for this event, or are you going to look further down the board and try to do Paul Waring 2.0 with somebody like Todd Clements?
No, I think I can see myself getting to 1, maybe 2, if we can get like if I can get 6.5x ROI on Hatton Aberg, maybe I'll just do that. But I like Hatton probably from the top, and then I just don't see any of these guys past like Fitz beating the Rorys, Tommies, because these DP events like this time of the year, they're won by names usually at the top. So
except for Paul Waring last year.
Except for Paul Waring last year. But the field wasn't that deep last year. It didn't have all these names.
Ryan Gerard wasn't playing last year. Michael Kim wasn't playing last year.
Fact.
Shout out Ryan Gerard for playing. He qualified, I assume, from winning the Barracuda.
Yes.
Got DP points and said, I'll be across the P type of player. Another win that occurred that we didn't talk about. If you win the Hong Kong Open, you're going to the Masters now, Jers. That's something that happens. And
duh.
Tom McKibben won by like 100 shots. Tom McKibben, he's still only 22. It might was that a huge win? How did you feel about Tom Kim winning the Hong Kong Open by 7 shots and qualifying for the Masters?
I'm always high on Tom McKibben. Remember we had our question, who would you take career earnings wise, or like who would you want their career? I said Tom McKibben. So I mean, took care of business in a weak field. That's what you had to do. like you said, won by 100 shots, and now he's in the Masters, and he's not. He can top 10 at the Masters. He can.
I picked Tom McKibben last in the preseason one and done when we picked
To
all the
win at
events.
3M.
Did that count as a win? Should that
Yeah.
count
Oh
based
yeah.
on what you've
We did.
seen?
I think we gave you the money.
Okay. And that's fresh off of 4 straight top 20s on the DP for Tom. So, yeah, things to monitor. Who do you think benefits the most from the 4 rounds on Live, and who do you think will benefit the least?
Rahm 1.
Rahm the most.
Niemann 2. Niemann is gonna struggle.
He's the most impacted by having to play 4 rounds.
Yeah, in a negative way.
I would say him and Gooch will suffer the.
Oh yeah. Good answer. Because Valderrama legend. Gooch, is he gonna be? Can he? Do they take down the banners now? Speaking of Valderrama.
Speaking of Valderrama, I think one of the best Instagram follows in golf is Christopher Wrighton. He is, first of all, Strokes Gained Viking Cup, friend of the program, theoretically. Always just Instagramming quality, high quality. He's always supporting the fellow Norwegian golfers. He loves Vic. He's like always hyping up Vic, which is great to see. He was just training. I can't remember the Swedish amateur's name, but he's like one of the top 10 amateurs in the world. They were just out at Valderrama like a couple weeks ago, just practicing, just getting reps, just playing golf.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but I thought is where you were going with it. Actually, is led by Victor Hovland and the other bigger names in the Nordic golf community. There is this thing called the Next Up Invitational. Right, tags them a lot, honestly, and they're having I don't know if it's a month or a week long training for all of the up and coming Nordic golfers, Swedish golfers, Norwegian golfers at Panther National in this month. I've been in contact with the guy who runs it.
I was going to say, are you going to be there?
I'm trying to do what I can to get there. I don't know exactly when it is. I'm going to reach back out again tomorrow, but it's in the backyard, and it's Viking only.
You need to find a way to get there, and we need to. That's keep working that angle, because that sounds very, very special, very, very, very special. But yeah, on the DP, I think you got to look to the top of the board. I don't know who's going to win. I'll think about it. I do like kind of the young gun bombers like Angel or Wrighton, just like nuking it around at Yas Links. Because what do you need to be good at to be good at golf at Yas Links?
Total driving plus driving, and then don't be a total liability on your second shot, but probably plus approach too. It's a pretty ball striking heavy golf course, in my opinion, with a lean towards total driving.
I would agree with the driving, but I would also say it's a place that Minwoo almost won pure driver putter, and Tommy Peets is driver putter largely.
And Rory's played well there, and he's played well there, like losing strokes on approach too. Driving is the key, in my opinion.
Drive it down the center, and then you're going to have clean putts. And it's a sick course. And I think the most interesting thing this week on the DP is not who wins the tournament necessarily. It is the battle for the final spots on the PGA Tour next year, because going into, I believe, and this could be wrong, I think they get the last 2 events. There's this week and next week on the DP. Next week's the Tour Championship. And the points are still available to these guys. But the top 10 right now is Penn, Wrighton, Sadier, your Flusher's favorite Flusher, John Parry, Alex Noren, Laurie Cantor, Hao Tung, DB. He got it slotted in the nick of time over in Spain. Kieta, your boy, and then Jordan Smith with Martin Kuvra, Joachim Lagergren, and Elvis Smiley and Rasmus Niergaard on.
Kuvra's kind of lost it.
He has. He really has.
At least you had him. That
was the last time I had anyone on the DP. But it was great when it happened. Yeah, it's concerning stuff. Very concerning. I'm going across the P in December. I'll be in France, and maybe that will get the vibes going.
Yeah, wow, that's big time actually.
Okay, PGA Tour, WWT. 2 of the worst chippers in golf. 1 here. Because basically, if you're missing the green, you can't win, because the winners will hit like 90+% of the greens. EVR lost strokes around the green in 29 straight events before he won. Here, Eckroat is a liability around the greens. Almost lost the tournament last year.
Oh
With
my
his
god, that last hole! I
final
forgot about
hole,
that.
when all I had to
I
do was
remember.
literally tip it anywhere on the green.
I had
I
Lauer.
think, yeah, big. You love Lauer on a big golf course.
Everyone knows it. And
Nicky Nation.
last week or last
No,
event, Lauer played really
yeah.
well. Big golf course.
Nicky Nations, the PGA Tour leader in par 3 birdie or better percentage, and if you give him a clean look, he's going to score. Played well
Not
there.
rocket science.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. Use your irons, make a ton of putts. That's the path to WWT. Theoretically, anybody could play good. And yeah, in that scenario, how are you thinking about the event, knowing that pretty much anybody can play good?
Yeah, I think you can. There's a route to drive it a little bit wayward if you could be just long and get it in play, and then get hot with either the irons, wedges, and the putter. Like you can do it in multiple ways. I don't think off the tee is that important. Distance obviously helps, but we've seen guys like Eckroat who don't hit it far at all. We've seen guys get into the mix who do hit it far. So the guys I touched on in volume 1 of this podcast were Nick Taylor, a guy who's going to hit every fairway and get hot with those mid irons. Patrick Fishburne, a longer golfer who can get hot with the wedges and hopefully the putter. And then there was one more guy, Thomas Rosenmuller, who's got really, really solid ball striking, but weak putting. I worry about his putter for sure, but he's a long shot with some high upside ball striking. Resort course. We've seen guys who are bad putters putt well in these kind of conditions before. So
I'm gonna give you some guys because I feel like these type of events you can be on the lookout, especially with how straightforward the scoring conditions are here, for a guy who maybe struggling a little bit, maybe in a downward trend, but a guy that we 6 months ago would have expected to be maybe near the top of an odds board in this type of event that are a little bit further down. I just had a great one. Steven Yeager. What's happened to Stevie Yeager?
he is the only guy that I kind of have penciled in so far. Now that you bring him up, yeah, it could be an omen. The driving is gone, but it doesn't matter here, in my opinion. Approach is kind of trending in the right direction.
T11 at the Bank of Utah.
They don't just give those out. 2 straight years playing well at that event. And the putter is heating up. So I think Yeags is trending in the right direction, and I assume there'll be a good number on him. I don't even know what number he is.
It's like 60.
Yeah. Yeags at 60 in a weak field, finally showing some signs. Give me.
A guy that, for me, fits that, who is terrible at short game and would maybe benefit from some easy short game conditions, and used to be Michael Brennan before we ever knew who Michael Brennan was, Luke Clanton. If I had told you last year at this time that someone you'd never heard of before who was 23 years old was going to win an event, and then the following week Luke Clanton was going to be 80-1 in the WWT, you would be surprised by that information. But that's where we find ourselves. And why couldn't Luke just nuke it down the middle? He's playing okay. He's made like 5 out of the last 6 cuts. It's not amazing, but if he doesn't have to chip, maybe.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. I do agree.
It was great to see David Ford show some signs.
Yep.
And was that Utah? The David Ford played all right?
Yes.
My random Euro of the week is Sammy Valimaki.
Yeah. Sammy Valimaki is catching some buzz. I like it. He would model out well for me too.
Final guy. You actually texted me about him, but the chart might be out by now. Nick Dunn's streak of gaining off of the tee in 100% of his last 1 events ended at the Bank of Utah Championship. He lost. I saw, and this is true. I agree with this take. I made this take for the Bank of Utah Championship. I think I saw it on Twitter that like even Nick Dunn can hit the fairways this week, and from there Nick Dunn can do what Nick Dunn can do. He did lose a stroke and a half off the tee per round at the Bank of Utah, which is kind of the similar driving conditions to here. Like if you miss here, you're in some serious problems. But if you don't, would you give him another chance even after the Bank of Utah?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The approach plays like there. Like I think he could do it elsewhere. Are you on data golf? How did he lose the strokes off the tee? Was it accuracy or distance?
He was nuking, but it was off the
all right, tee. That's good. I'm happy with that. Like that means he's still hitting the ball solidly.
Yeah, you just want a nice clean contact.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. There. I agree. I just think it's like I was surprised because I thought he was going to drive it well. Not well. I thought he could at least like be around even. And he did play good in the first round last week or 2 weeks ago. He shot 66, which was his best strokes gained round, like his second best of the whole year. And then he hit it off the P in the next round. So
what is his number? Do you know?
200 to 1. I think he was way more than that before too.
Yeah.
I saw somebody tweet about Omar Morales too. Omar's a pro now.
Omar. Yeah, he's a pro. Is he playing this week?
Tyler Weaver's playing this week too. Oh, wait. Tyler Weaver's playing as an amateur. I thought this was Tyler Weaver's pro debut. He is still.
He'll be the first amateur to win since Dunlap, and he might be.
We should have asked Stu about Connor Graham. Missed opportunity, but that's why hopefully you guys enjoy what comes after this, which is an interview with a guy who has such an interesting career, unique like perspective on golf, exposed to like a lot of pro golf, but also all the amateur golf. You couldn't ask for like a more holistic kind of way to find out some interesting things happening in the game, and he gave us a great interview, and I really appreciate him taking his time. If you like the pod, if you like the interview after this, obviously toss a like and subscribe on there. We really appreciate that. We can't do this stuff without your guys' support. So thank you so much. Matt, anything else for the listeners before we hand it over to the interview with Stu?
Enjoy it. It's a good one. And we'll be back again soon with some big things coming.
All right. We are back, and we did a little pod before this, and I said the next person coming on doesn't need an introduction, but I'll give a little bit of an introduction nonetheless. Stewart Hagestad joining us, probably the most accomplished mid-am golfer ever. I don't know. You can tell us if you think that's true or not. He says no. Most that I can remember off the top of my head, or at least in my lifetime. Thanks for joining us. And I think the background of how this came to be is probably of most interest to us, honestly, and to the listeners. We, after the Walker Cup, because that was an unbelievable event out there at Cypress Point, would love to chat more about that. We were talking about how you guys won, and I don't even know how it came up of what your celebratory drink would be, and it led us to thinking Stu's drank a lot of cocktails probably in his day, played some nice golf courses after the round. You reached out to us and shared what your favorite drink is. How did you hear about that, and how did that all come to be?
I remember I was working out one night, and it was probably like just at the peak of a pre-workout high, and I was like looking at like Walker Cup stuff, and I saw this one. And I don't know, and I think like the title of it was like, "What is Stu's favorite cocktail?" or something. And I was like, that's a little off the beaten path. Like, let's see what these guys, let's see what they think. I forget what it was, but I'm a vodka and tequila guy. So, whether it's martinis, margaritas, tequila on the rocks. My first, it's definitely not where I thought this was going, but I'll say it anyway. My everyone has like that experience where like they had like a really poor experience from drinking, whether it's like early in their life or whatever, and then they have like taste aversion going forward. And I'm really lucky. Back in the day, I don't know, I'm 34. I don't know if this is like early days of YouTube, but there was that like my new haircut video where everyone was just like walking around being like Jaeger bombs, right? So I was like a senior in high school, and like early days where you're like experimenting with alcohol or whatever. And a couple of my pals were like going on a run. I think it was New Year's, and they're like, "Do you want us to get you anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, give me a bottle of Jaeger." And they looked at me like I had 5 heads. They're like, "That's your choice?" Like, okay, you psycho. So
yeah, we that's me with vodka. I can't drink vodka because in the fraternity we did like an event. You got to pick one drink, and that's the drink that I picked that day, and it lives with me forever. Matt's a tequila water guy. You gave me that. I went to the Jersey Shore with you for the first time this summer, and you're right. That's been a game changer for me on like nights out.
Yeah, it's truly, it gets the job going. But like the fact that you saw that clip, that is the ethos of Insteric, just stuff like that, off the beaten path. What is Stu's favorite drink? So if you enjoyed that, you'll definitely enjoy this conversation and what we had going. So yeah, I'm glad you saw that, and I'm glad you were able to share us your favorite drink. Tequila water is truly my go-to.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good one. Another one I discovered at a wedding, which is like kind of in the same spirit but a little different, is it was at the end of the night and they didn't have any other mixers. And I asked for vodka. Well, just like fill the cup up with ice. This is like all I could get out of my mouth, I'm sure.
Simple.
But like fill the cup up with ice, put vodka in it, and then get like 2 or 3 of like the jalapenos that they chop up for like spicy skinny margaritas. and put that in. It's like kind of, they're like distant cousins, but yeah, no, that was good too. It's a good wedding drink. But I like tequila water.
I like that because my girlfriend's a big spicy marg and spicy drink person, so she gets it a lot, but it's usually a little too sweet. But if you just did it with water, yeah, I like that. But anyways, we appreciate you reaching out, because then that led to us saying, hey, why don't we get Stu on the pod and chat some golf, chat some courses, whatever it may be. And we had loved the Walker Cup, but I feel like we mainly on the pod focus on professional golf, but we mainly focus on it around the world. We talk a lot of DP World Tour, we talk live, we'll talk about anything. And when we found out that the Walker Cup was going to be at Cypress Point, I think everybody was like, wow, this is going to be so amazing to actually see it on TV. You were actually there. You were actually playing golf on the course. You've obviously played in a lot of great events. Like, how did that week rank? And was it as special as it just looked like on TV when we were watching?
Yeah, I mean, Cypress is my favorite walk, right? Like, I don't really think in terms of like rankings. I kind of think more in terms of tiers. The top 10 or top 12 to me, like, everyone has a different experience there, right? Like, I'm not as high on Oakmont or Pebble for that matter as others. That's not to say that they're not great, but like when people are like, that's my number one, or that's right up there, like, I totally see where they're coming from. To me, it's not, but at the same time, like, I've had a really unique experience at some of these places, right? Like at Cypress or at Augusta, like, I don't think it's in any way like disrespectful to say, that you prefer one versus the other. But like, to me, that's kind of like your top tier. And then I think your next tier is probably, call it like, 11 to 30, give or take. Again, like, if you go and play a place when it's blowing 30 and raining and your host no shows at the 11th hour and you're like an unaccompanied, like, you're going to have a different experience to like a fall day when it's perfect and the leaves are turning and there's no wind and you have whatever, tequila water after the round, whatever it may be, right? Like, so you see where I'm going with that. So as it kind of like, applies to the Walker Cup specifically, like, Cypress is incredible. That's the first golf course I ever had the chance to play growing up in California, where I kind of got on property and I was like, this is different. This has a different feel to it. And then obviously, like, the first 14 holes are just this incredible, kind of journey. And it's almost like each hole is like a different chapter of a book, and it kind of comes to the end of the round. And, it's that amazing kind of like culminating, dramatic finish that's there on the Pacific. So it's a special place. And I think, like, as I think about it, selfishly towards me, like, a lot of the people that are involved in the event, whether it's, part of the Walker Cup Society, past players, captains, members at the club, and then on the GBNI side, right, like members of the RNA, people that come over and support the event, like, that for whatever reason, like, pick the Walker Cup as that time when they're going to come over and support, the GBNI players, and again, their Walker Cup Society. It's incredible to kind of think over the course of the last 10 years what that looks like, and just a lot of friendships and relationships that have been created. And it's pretty special.
Yeah. Speaking of that week, how much differently or harder did the course play than you've played it in the past? I know you said it, you played it in the past, and also probably you've played it more than anyone on the team in your career. Were you like a guy for advice for the younger guys, like, hey, you play this hole this way or do this like this when you're on property? So just speak on those two things if you can.
So yeah, I had played it before, not as many times as I think the internet wanted to think, right? I probably played it 8 or 10 times, which, again, I'm very fortunate to have done that, but it's not like I was like camped out there, for a month each summer or whatever.
That'd be sick if you were to play golf for a month at that point. That would have been cool if that's what you were doing.
I'm sure you guys have read the stories. I think that like Golfer's Journal or a couple of them came out where there was a caddy that actually lived on the walk between 15 green and 16 tee. Like,
I did see that.
Those are the stories that, like, about, like, all these different clubs that, like, we put them on a pedestal, but then you hear that and you're like, wait, like, that's really cool. That adds to the history of it. So yeah, no, I had played it before. I played a college event there. We played like a 1-day exhibition there, where I absolutely just got smoked by Cameron Wilson. It was like 35 degrees and blowing 20 and raining, and I just got crushed. Nonetheless, so I had played it before. The weather was perfect. It was really, really cool to watch the golf course change we were there for a week. So we got there kind of Sunday afternoon the week before, and then obviously kind of culminated at the end, a week later. And to watch the golf course day by day kind of change and get firmer and faster. And you kind of had a pretty good idea of where the pins were going to be. You know, like for example, I'll use number 8 as an example. Like you knew the pins were going to be, you know, in the middle bowl, on the right side, on the left here, and then in the front. Like when you've played, you know, enough of these things, you're by no means like an expert, but you can pretty quickly like identify like, okay, there's probably going to be a pin roughly in that position. And then also just like as the golf course got firmer and firmer, like you could tell how different things were going to change, right? Like, so at the start of the week, like hitting driver on 11, you could kind of push it up into a little throat, but then a week later, like you were hitting a bullet 3 wood and it was potentially even running like into this bunker that was like 305 out, right? So just watching that and then having to be kind of dynamic with your decision making, you know, I think was something that was definitely one to pay attention to. As it, you know, appeals to me, I thought it was a golf course that you didn't. I'm 34 now. I mean, I was never crazy long, but you know, when you look at some of these kids, right? You look at like a Michael Assasso, you know, or like a Preston Stout, you know, Gordon obviously just turned pro. Like they have kind of a gear that you don't really have, an arrow that's not in your quiver, so to speak. So when you get into a ball speed contest, like that gets a little bit more challenging. But if you get them on a golf course where I thought they did a really good job of not like, you know, call it being a prisoner of the moment or like flippantly like building tees to kind of fit the event, right? I thought that they did a really good job, whether that's, you know, the membership, you know, the Walker Cup setup committee, the USGA, whoever it was that made that decision to basically say, hey, like we have a really unique golf course that we don't hold a lot of events of, and we're not going to alter, you know, what that makeup kind of looks like. The team, whatever, the players are really, really good. And if it's going to blow 25, like, yeah, it'll play a little bit tougher. But if the weather lays down, and this is something that the R&A does a really, really good job of, if the weather lays down, like, and they go out and they make a bunch of birdies, like, hey, like good playing, like that's what they're supposed to do. They're really good. So I think all of that is to kind of say, you know, I thought the golf course played really well. I thought the setup was really, really, you know, in a good place. I think that they allowed for the golf course to kind of, you know, be very scoreable and for birdies to go out and win holes. But at the same time, if you got it out of position, you know, you'd obviously be penalized quickly. And then selfishly, like as it applies to me, one thing that I've kind of said a few times is like thinking back to my first experience with the Walker Cup, like at LACC, where, you know, I'm a member, and being there in front of so many people that I knew, whether it be friends and family or other members of the club or whatever, like there was a lot of kind of internal pressure that I put on myself, which is a totally normal thing to do. But you almost felt like you had to, you know, do something extra, be more, or whatever it was. Yep. And, you know, thinking back on it to this time, you know, at Cyprus, just again, selfishly and reflectively, I thought it was just really, really cool to kind of like see myself and like how I kind of experienced, you know, and really experienced that moment, but at the same time, like fell into a place where you were completely obsessed with the task at hand and you weren't really concerned about all the noise around it.
Yeah,
totally. Right. And like, that's a really, really healthy place to be in when you're trying to compete and like, just do you like play, you know, not even play your best golf, but like do what you need to do, you know, to kind of, to bring it, so to speak. So it was cool.
Yeah, no. And I think what was interesting, like we do this thing, it's called boots on the ground, and we go to the majors usually. I think probably the last 3 or 4 years we go to the majors, and before the tournament we spend a lot of time analyzing how the course is going to play and things like that. And so I didn't grow up going to a lot of fancy golf courses or playing a lot of courses like that. I don't think Matt did either. But over the last few years, we started to see some of these championship courses up close and get a feel for setups and like what matters and what the little intricacies that you don't pick up when you're watching on TV and things like that. And it's interesting how you described Cyprus, because I'd never seen any golf played there. I'd maybe watched those flyover videos, you know, and things like that. And right away, it was just not a lot of drivers off the tee. You could see that like it was about figuring out where to land the ball in the fairway so that you could have an angle into the pin. And the pin seemed like they were in, or the green firmness was right at the right speed where if you misplayed the ridge, you were going to get rejected 90 feet away from the pin, but if you played it right, you could tuck it up next to the hole. So it's interesting here saying that, because like on TV, it gave the vibe of just a really good setup for match play golf, and then it delivered.
Yeah, and Matt, I'm just now realizing I didn't answer the second part of your question. You know, as it kind of relating to the younger guys, you know, and kind of being that person to maybe like give advice or whatever. One thing I learned back in 2017 on that team was I kind of thought I could be that guy to like, hey, like, you know, there might be this pin, it's better to be from this angle or whatever. And like, you kind of just realize quickly that like they're so good and their golf IQs are so high, and, you know, they'll be nice and respectful just because like, you know, you're older than them. But at the same time, like, to use Nathan's terms, like, you don't really want to muzzle a racehorse. Like, if they ask questions, like, give them honest feedback or give them an answer. You know, or I think about it maybe more in terms of like, you know, what can you do to help them in kind of either their routines or their habits, like throughout the week, right? So if you can kind of alleviate some of the noise of stuff that you're doing away from the course or even on the course, then I think that might be a little bit more. Yeah. Right. Like there's you don't know what you don't know. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And if you can kind of eliminate, you know, some of that stuff, you know, from a noise standpoint, that a lot of times, like, they know how to play golf, right? They have their own ways of going about it. They know what to do.
Professional
like,
stuff.
They're well aware that if you miss it, you know, in a place that's downhill, downgrain, downwind, like, isn't good. But, you know, if they're maybe like on a tee and they're deciding between, you know, a couple different things, like, maybe you can be that person and be like, hey, well, like, let's think about what it's going to play in 3 or 4 days, right? Like, it's going to get a little bit firmer. Let's look at the weather. Like, maybe it makes more sense from a decision matrix standpoint to kind of like, you know, kind of help them identify, like, what are the things that matter and what are the things that don't, right? But like, when I'm playing alternate shot with Ben James on 9 and he's got 3-wood in, like, I'm not hitting driver or 3-wood on 9 just because it doesn't make any sense for me. But like, what am I going to do? Be that guy to be like, no, like, you should lay it up. Like, dude, no, like, you're one of the best ball strikers in amateur golf. Like, you know, get at it.
One question, then Jerry, feel free to take it wherever you want. You talk about that all these guys are, you know, almost tour-ready players with the experiences they go through in college now and the level of technology and data that's in the game. And that's obviously evolved pretty dramatically in recent years. And you hear a lot of people talk about amateurs and top college players are more ready to go compete on the PGA Tour and win events. We just saw Michael Brennan a couple weeks ago win.
Crazy.
Like, have you, even since 2017, seen a change in the, like, preparation basically that a top level amateur player has now than even maybe 8-10 years ago, or was this already happening when you were, you know, in college?
Yeah, I think you can even stretch it further back, right? Like, when you go back, like, not even like to Phil, right? Like, Phil, you know, was obviously kind of the last amateur to have won, right? Like, you won in Phoenix, but I think you can even bring it back to, like, you know, Ben Crenshaw, right? Because like when he was playing on tour, like, he was doing some really amazing things. I think Scott Verplank also may have gone to a playoff. Like, forgive me, I'm not nearly as like historically well versed as I could have, but I think at the highest end, we won't
call you on that one. We have no idea either, so don't worry.
I think at the highest end of amateur golf, like, that's always kind of existed. I think back to 17 and like Colin Morikawa, I think either went to a playoff or maybe finished second at the Corn Ferry Tour event. I think that if you see these generational players, right? Like, we saw it with Luke Clinton, we saw it with Gordon Sargent. We're obviously seeing it right now with Jackson Coyven. Nick Dunlap, obviously, you know, with what he did, you know, earlier. Was it this year or last year? Last year.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think I have more of like a theoretical kind of observational answer for that than like something that's more defined in black and white. But I think that the way that you have the ability and the accessibility to see stats and to see your game, to see from a technological standpoint and a preparation standpoint, whether it's like, you know, TrackMan, GC Quad, coaches, mental stuff, whatever. And then I also just think that like the overall talent level, you know, just improving, or like putting yourself in position to win, like Michael Brennan did. Like, I mean, dude, he balled. Like, that was amazing, right? Like, going from
crazy stuff.
Unbelievable, going from, you know, whatever it was, PGA Tour Canada and Latin America, all the way to the tour. Like, I think that those reps like are really, really, you know, translatable and super important for his own development. And then I think the other thing, which is a little bit more challenging to quantify, but just the mindset that's there. I think that there was this built-in mindset, you know, for forever, you know, that you'd get to the PGA Tour, and if you were lucky enough to continue to qualify for the tour in the year after, like, maybe by the time you got to your late 20s or early 30s, then you were like ready to win, right? And I think that you are seeing now that so many of these younger guys are comfortable with the idea of, like, you know, being near or at the top of the leaderboard and comfortable with the idea that not only that they can win, but like, well, what else am I like? Of course, like what else am I supposed to do, right? Yeah. So it's this total like cultural shift, and I think it's completely all encompassing. But it's really from all different levels, you know, whether in the preparation stage, the execution stage, or even kind of, as I said, like that more like quantitative, you know, and internal stage, because as we all know, like mental is so much a part of the game. And, you know, I'll toot my own horn for a second. Like I was leading for like 5 minutes. Golf was really easy for like 3 hours in the first round of the US Open a couple of years ago. And I looked up on the leaderboard and saw my name, and it was like they're above like Rory and Rahm and Morikawa. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, and like, I'll be the first one to admit, like I made a nice putt to kind of have that for a split second, but like there was definitely this like, oh my gosh, like
I'm here.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what Jackson's doing, for him to continue to kind of put himself in position to win, like he was in the final group with Scotty Scheffler, like for 4.5 hours in that circus. Like, that's amazing. That stuff's only going to continue to help his development. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah. I guess I'll switch it up a little bit. I want to talk about 2017, like Low-Am at Augusta. Everyone has that first feeling and different answer to stepping on property at Augusta. I was lucky enough to go for 2 hours last year before it rained on me, but I obviously felt the allure of Augusta when I was first in there.
Can I want to ask, say, actually, before you ask your question, Matt, because you got to go to Augusta for 2 hours, and he was devastated, obviously. And we come on the pod that night to the Masters preview. And I said, were the hills, because I always say on TV when you watch the Masters, like the cameras can't do it justice. The hills are like 3 times bigger than you could ever imagine. And I said, was it like that? And you famously said, no, the hills are exactly as I expected. So Stu, are the hills bigger than they look on TV, or what's your take on that?
The cameras they do it justice. Maybe not the slopes of the greens, but the ups and downs, the fairways, I think the cameras do a good job. The CBS gets low. They get low.
That was the hottest take, though, in pod history. I think at the moment people were a little upset. So the Stu needs to let us know the truth here.
I wonder if it was like, was it a hot take, or was it just like a
it was a quick
contrary take? Yeah,
it was just a quick like flow of the pod. I was just like, the TV does Augusta justice in some regard. Like I thought, because they give their all to that week. It's like,
for sure.
So
right, and like it's widely on record that Augusta and CBS can have a deal in place where they're effectively perpetually on a 1-year deal. And if you go into different books that talk about it, right, like the making of the Masters, is kind of one that a lot of people will cite. The way that place just continues to kind of reinvent the experience for the player and the patron and the viewer on TV, and obviously the corporate sponsors, and it's really unbelievable. And the narrative and the storytelling that they kind of go into, I think they do a really good job of painting a picture of the whole property. Totally. So I think that where you're coming from maybe isn't quite as to kind of side with both of you here, right? Maybe isn't quite as hot of a take as it would have been 25, 30 years ago. But at the same time, like when you go out there and you see 10 and you're like, you could ski down this, right? Like, I see both sides of this. And then I would take that another step further. And when the golf course gets firmer and faster, like the way that, the balls kind of react on the greens, like I feel like everyone tells the story of the first time they played it. Like they get to the first green and maybe they have a putt that, is more of a side hill putt, and they can ask the caddy, what do you think? And the caddy gives them a line that's like 12 feet different than what he was thinking. And he's just like, I did not see that. Right. And then there's kind of like this overwhelming sense of just like, what is going on? So
so I will say at the regular PGA Tour events, I can kind of walk where I want to, go on the greens if I need to. Masters, not so much. I'm not going to walk on the greens and feel them out. So I saw it from afar. But my question was going to be, you mentioned like at the US Open, you saw your name on the leaderboard. You were like, wow. But was there a moment at Augusta? I'm sure there was, where you were like starstruck, or like, what's going on right now? Where am I? And was there ever a time where the first time you were starstruck by another golfer person in the sport? Is there anything like that?
I mean, I've met Tiger before, big Tiger guy, right? Like I kind of grew up and that was the guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I was never starstruck, but I think overwhelmed by the situation and just a lot of the stuff. It goes back to like that noise that I talked about. Like there's a lot. And I did a pretty good job kind of going into the week, you know, long in advance, kind of leading up to it, of like, you know, what that might kind of be like. And
paid off.
as far as starstruck, no. Overwhelmed, more so.
Okay.
Like there was a moment or a couple of moments kind of throughout the week where you're just like, I didn't know that there would be this many people. But like you got to also remember, like this is a more of a, I could talk for a while about this just because there's a lot of like, kind of like we mentioned, like intricacies and stuff that goes with it. But if you were to have played that event a couple weeks after the mid-am or the am or the Walker Cup, whatever, right? Like kind of at the end of the summer, we'll say, you know, when there's that many people around and you're a little bit more in touch with like the state of your game, like it probably from an amateur standpoint, probably you're a little bit more prepared for that versus in April, like I'm not in college, right? Like there's nothing to play in, you know, so you kind of have to get creative, whether it's, you know, there's a handful of events, but like they're much earlier in the year. So from a competitive standpoint, right? From a competitive standpoint, like you're not like, it's not that you're not sharp, but you're not like,
yeah, there's a difference between playing competitive golf on nice golf courses, and you could go play nice golf courses in the prep, but you can't replicate the feeling of anything close to it.
Yeah,
totally.
That's why that fight for the low am is like so impressive, and like shout out to you, got it done.
Thank you.
But even guys that like are amateurs and play well, like a few years ago, we see amateurs in the top 10. Like that just proves that being so much more impressive. What you just said.
Yeah, I got beat by Sam Bennett in the quarters the year before he went to the Masters, so like that definitely made me feel a little bit better about that. Yeah, definitely made me feel a little bit better about that. But yeah, like there's a lot that's there, and I think that if you grow up in the United States, like you're almost kind of predicated to put, you know, the Masters and Augusta National kind of up on a pedestal, you know, deserving or not. I mean, it's my favorite place. You know, just again, especially because I've had a really unique experience there. But at the same time, if you grow up, you know, in Great Britain or Ireland, maybe it's the Open Championship. But yeah, like there's a lot of different ways to answer that.
That actually made me think as you were saying that, because I was looking, you've not played in Open, but I assume you've played in Walker Cups over there and have played plenty of links golf. And we consider ourselves junior linksmen. We're getting more, we've been over to the UK the last couple of years. We're getting more boots on the ground on the links. And we went to Troon 2 years ago. And that was just like an unbelievable golf course. And obviously right on the water, we saw the conditions and things like that. You mentioned links golf there, which is what kicked this off for me. What's in you said you do tiers, not rankings, but what's in the like God tier of Open or links courses? Links courses at Broad doesn't have to be an Open course across the pond.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit I haven't spent as much time over there as maybe I could have or should have. You know, growing up in California, it's just as easy to get to Asia as it is to get to, you know, Great Britain and Ireland. And then from a competitive standpoint, like if you're trying to make one of those teams, like I've always kind of elected to go and play the Northeast Am. That's my favorite event of the year. I'm not alone in that. They do a great job at Wannamoisett, Ben Tuthill and his team. So I've always thought it'd be interesting to go over and say play like a British Am or a St. Andrews Links Trophy or anything like that. But I think when you think about it in terms of the ranking, again, we don't need to really outthink this. Like I'm not going to sit here and give you one, you know, unique hot take versus the other. St. Andrews is obviously there. A big part of that is because of the history, you know, and it was kind of the first boots on the ground as far as where the game was conceived. Royal County Down is unbelievable. Maybe the best 9 in golf. Certainly open to that argument, right? Obviously Carnousie's a beast, especially when it blows. You know, Kingsbarns is the Pebble Beach of we had a day out there before the Walker Cup at St. Andrews where it was blowing like 5 and gusting 7 and like it was sunny and incredible. There's a lot of great golf over there. I'm not going to get over my skis here. I need to go over there and spend some more time. I think when the time comes, I would love to go over there with someone that's more educated than me and let's do a real kind of, you know, call it 7 to 10 day tour and play all of them in a short period of time. Like, I'd love to go play Dornick. Never been. I played Lahinch. That's where the Walker Cup is this coming year. You know, so I'll be at the Walker Cup practice session in December. But I played it when it was blowing 30 and like pouring rain, so you didn't really look more than 12 feet in front of you. And that's kind of part of it too over there, right? Is like you want to play it like in some conditions, but also you want to like enjoy it. You don't want it to be miserable. We can revisit that question in like 10, 15, 20 years when I can give you a better answer.
And for the record, I did get out over my skis and gave a hot. It's kind of similar to Matt's Hills at Augusta take. It wasn't a hot take. I would still have St. Andrews number one for all the reasons that you mentioned. But from a pure like go have a great day and vibes, and maybe you're playing with your friends, King's Barn in that area it's neck and neck. So you didn't have to worry about going over your skis because I've already done it on this pod.
Well, yeah, it's widely known. I've given a couple hot takes on the internet, which
that's what we're here for. Takes are the name of the game.
Yeah, I've tried that. I'm good. The St. Andrews one, I think a lot of people play it once because they go over there on a trip and they kind of say, I don't really get it, or, you know, it's not what I thought it was cracked up to be, or whatever. My contention to that would be, if you were to play it 8 or 10 times, I think it gets better every time, and it kind of like, you know, you unearth something new about it each time you play it. Yeah, like different wind conditions or different pins, or maybe you have your best stuff versus you don't. Like, there's a reason that it's kind of stood not only the test of time, but it's really kind of been the grandfather's grandfather of all the different like hazards and tests that all other golf courses are kind of built upon. So it's just hard to go play a place like that once and then to create an opinion based off of that.
Yeah, the few rounds Adam and I have played over there, the first few were in like no wind. We were like, all right. And the last few were in serious wind, and we were like, we could see the difference no matter if it's the same course, different course. So I would obviously love to get out to St. Andrews and try to feel that in different conditions. So maybe in the future.
In the States, you can kind of play one of these places once, right? And you can kind of get a rough idea. And over there, just because like the ground is so different, and the routing and the wind and the conditions and all these different things. And it's you just, the more times you play it, the more it kind of shows its true colors.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a complete switch of topics, but you've obviously played with a lot of top amateur players over the last, 10 years or so, whether it's through Walker Cups and things like that. And has there been guys who maybe at that level didn't stand out in the way that they ended up becoming players? And there's probably players that have gone the other way, but like, who stands out to you as a player that like now is having success, that when you were playing with him at the amateur level, you're like, damn, I can't believe he's doing this?
The number one player in the world.
Sky? I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, he's a
it's good not like I'm alone. It's not like I'm alone in that.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was sitting right next to me, he'd probably say the same thing. Maybe not, but he's such a humble guy. He'd probably be like, shoot. Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's being compared to like peak Tiger. Like, that's crazy.
As the person who kind of saw him make this jump, like, what impresses you the most of what he's gotten? Obviously, he's got probably better at every single thing to become the level of that he is. But like, what do you maybe admire or stands out the most about his game now that he is where he is, having seen him?
Yeah. Cool. There's a lot, right? I mean, where do you want to start? He drives it great. His ball striking's A++, chips it great. Now he's putting it great. To me, and like, right, like pretty good formula. I mean, could he have more speed? Like, sure. Is he going to trade that? Like Rory, I think if you were to really like nitpick, like, would you trade? If you could build your best player, you probably pick Rory's driving and then take Scotty everywhere else. Then maybe like, I don't know, Denny McCarthy's putt. Like Scotty's made a lot of putts, when it really matters, right? Like,
we call it strokes gained dog, and we actually have a ranking that we do.
No, it's like a real thing.
There's all these strokes gained stats out there, and we were like, you watch these, and there's guys just have a little more dog than other guys. Scotty's obviously been number one in strokes gained dog for a long time.
And it's like the strokes gained FU. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it's just he's got a lot of reps under the gun, right? Like it's not like he's like playing and he gets under the gun and he's like kind of ready for it. It's like, dude, he does it every week. It's top 10 every week. So
would you think you'd be able to guess one other player in the top 10 of the strokes gained dog? I think you could.
Yeah, I would say most of them are good golfers, but it's like it's that different gear. The dog. Who do you think?
Oh, I'll give you one. I'll give you a real good one that you're not going to guess.
Okay.
All right.
This guy is out here harvesting souls with ball speed in like the low to mid 160s, and he's currently 4th in the world. Like Russell Henley deserves all the credit he can get.
Okay. I respect that because Russell Henley is probably one of our top, like on a world ranking to dog ranking, we have him quite low from like winning perspective, but I get you're coming from.
Dude, he's 4th in the world, and he like when he double cheeks one, he can maybe hit 167, and he's out here harvesting souls. Like
this is fair. This is what we need on
dog.
The pod.
That's dog to talent ratio right there. That's because I think that's fair. So his dog needs to be higher up because his talent. Yeah, I get
that. No, that's a very fair take.
And then the other two I'll give you would be Justin Rose and Shane Lowry.
Okay, well, Justin Rose is in the, what is he, 12?
Number 10. He's number 10.
Yeah, so we're Justin Rose.
Do you guys have an actual list that you've put together?
Oh, we have we ranked
it's a formula and everything.
That's nice.
But I will say
I want to hear more.
You're treating it with a different, I like, you seemed like you're going with some more like accurate positional guys who are greatly outperforming like what their skills are, I like that approach to it.
I think what you're maybe thinking it more of is like simply from when you're put in that position from only a putting standpoint, like ignore other parts of it. Like how are you rolling it?
Our definition is will to win when you're tied for the lead on the back 9. Who's going to, no matter what your skill set is, who's going to get it done with 8 holes left and you guys are tied for the lead or 1 back. That's the dog.
So we try to think if it's the back 9 of the Masters and this player is tied for the lead with the player like right above them in the rankings, who would we think is going to win in that moment? So there's guys who
so to that extent, like to use that as a really good example, like I'm going to give you one and I'm going to get immediate pushback and then I'm going to try and explain my position. Like obviously we all know what happened to Jordan on 12, right? Like golf's really hard. You're going to hit bad shots. Time got really, really, really fast for him. And obviously like this is not at its first glance, like in his category, but we also need to remember that boy went out there and like birdied the next 3 after making a 12 on 12 or whatever it was. Like to grab, you're nuts. And then to be like, hey, we still have a chance to win this. To birdie 13, 14, 15. And I think he high side lipped one out, hit it's like 8 feet on 16. Like he deserves so much credit for being like, hey,
you're absolutely correct.
Let's lock in.
He's a high
especially there.
Yeah, we've got Spieth right now is 65 in the world golf rankings, and we've got him 24th still in the dog rankings. So we're Spieth dogs.
Like if Jordan Spieth, no matter what form he's in, is tied for the lead in the back 9, you think he's going to get it done. So therefore,
especially there. Yeah.
I'll give you a few of the kind of random guys that we theoretically random and that they're not maybe as high in the world rankings as they are in the dog. We have Billy Horschel in the top 10.
Okay.
We think he's a killer. Nick Taylor's in the top 10, another shorter hitter who
when he gets there, he gets it done.
I'm cool with that. Yeah. Nick, yeah. Keep going. I'll give you another one if you want one that's like way off the beaten path.
Absolutely, that's what we want.
Martin Trainer.
Oh, Martin Trains.
I would 100% sign up for that take because like we have.
Look at how many times he's top 10s on tour, and then look at how many times he's won.
Exactly.
That's like Davis Riley's in our top 50 because he could miss the cut every single tournament and then he'll just win, and he's done it twice. So that's the dog rankings. Yeah, any like Trainer is certainly in the conversation.
Give him number 16. Give him number 16 too, Adam.
Pablo Larrazabal. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. That's. I mean, okay. I'm not super familiar with his work, but I'll take your word for it.
He he had a stretch on the DP a couple years ago where like he was only in the top 5 3 times and he won every single time, and so we had to get him in there.
That's kind of like what Marty's record is too. It's just like, I'm sorry, what? Like, is this a statistical anomaly? What's going on here?
Trying to see if we've got any other wild ones. Also, I think you're frozen, but we can hear you, so it's all good. But if people are watching this afterwards and Stu's frozen, that's why. I'm trying to see if there's any other random ones in here. Oh, Ryan
This
Fox.
is like Ryan Fox. Yeah, he's like the nicest guy too. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
New Zealander, of course.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Who's on the strokes gain, just like nicest people you've come across of like recognizable people in golf?
In golf or on tour?
In general, like mine is Jason Day. That's my number one strokes gain. Like, just the nicest person you could ever meet.
Jason's a fellow emo kid like me. Let me think about that. I mean, Scotty's obviously really nice, like especially given like how unbelievably successful he's been. It's so much easier to do who's not, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I have one too.
It is clear that you're a takesman, like on the inside, and you have to like think through if you're going to be a bold enough takesman. We love that.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Rory, right? Like, given all the success that he's had, I think you need to like consider that. Like, he's also high on my list of people that are really nice. I mean, honestly, man, like, this is such a cop-out answer, but like at this point, like, I have either personal relationships, my own relationships, or like playing relationships through like so many of these guys. So it's much easier for me to be like, I have no time for that person, but like, I'm just not going to do that. So, yeah, like you got to remember, like I'm 34, right? So I either at this point played junior golf with them, played college golf with them, in some way, shape or form, played amateur golf with them, you know, or I've been, you know, kind of competing against them, you know, as a mid-am in their amateur golf life. So it's crazy to kind of like look at the official world golf rankings and be like, oh, this is wild. So, yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And we'll kind of wrap up here, ask you the last few questions. We appreciate all the time you've given us, and it's been great. We never know what's going to happen. We've only done so many interviews with so many different people. You never know how it's going to go, but this has been awesome. We really appreciate you joining us today. You've probably heard, you're online. People say you have like the best life in golf, and you could tell us if that's true or not. But because you have at least had those experiences, I feel like your foursome and what golf course you'd play. You know, a lot of people, it's a golf thing. We all ask each other, like, what's your dream foursome and where would you golf? You have a lot of options and experiences to choose from. So I think yours would be like,
how many people better to ask than this? Yeah.
Yeah. What's Stewart Hagestad's dream foursome and where are you guys golfing?
Oh man, this is like so one of those questions that like you get asked way too often. It's like one of those like rapid fire questions. And no matter what you say, you like just don't have the right answer to. Right? Like the easy answer would be like, you know, my dad and my two brothers. Like, I don't know, man. Where would it be? To me, it's Augusta, right? Just because like, I think that walk, like, you know, I've had the chance to have spent some time down there, like getting ready for the tournament. Right. And it's 4:30 and you look around and like, there's maybe one other group on the property. And it's just like, it's a total, like pinch yourself moment. I mean, this year at the Walker Cup with the sun, you know, kind of setting and, you know, it going over, remember his sun obviously sets in the west. So like the sun, like literally setting over the 16th hole, like that's pretty wild. I think the answer to that is, you know, if we take kind of space and time out of it, like to play with my dad and then, you know, I'm not married or have kids, but, you know, if I have, you know, whoever my kids are and if they play golf, right, like son or daughter, like whoever that is, like that would be very, very, very cool. Right. And if you want to make it, you know, a fivesome, you know, if my significant others, you know, family wants to join, we'd love to have them too.
Would they allow that at Augusta? Would they let the fivesome happen, or is that a hard no-go at Augusta?
You know, I think time and place, certain rules can be bent. It's, I know the answer is no, but you know,
but maybe
on Sunday afternoon of Masters Week, as long as you keep up pace of play, I'm almost positive that fives have gone out before. So I don't know. I'll defer to who is it? It's not JJ and Tony. It's whoever they are down there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, special place. But wherever you can get off, if you want to keep it to New Jersey, then we'll take out Pine Valley, because you guys are Jersey guys, right?
Yeah, I live in the city in New York, and Matt's from New Jersey originally. Yeah.
Okay. The new Balti Upper is really, really good.
Heard good things.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's so much good golf back
there.
Well,
Adam's a West Coast guy too. Adam spends a lot of time in San Francisco and Seattle.
I grew up in Seattle, and I'm out in the Bay Area a reasonable amount, so I've got some. I'm down for West Coast takes as well.
We have you played the new Cal Club?
No, but I've seen it. I've seen like pictures and people talking about it, and it seems as incredible of an experience as
everyone raves about it. Yeah, everyone raves about it. The
golf
in San Francisco is really good.
You get the weather pretty much year round. It's like, I think it's underrated as a golf place, even though it is well known.
Yeah. So I grew up in Newport, right, and down in Orange County, and we don't, as you know, like Northern California and Southern California may as well just be like separate states. Like,
oh yeah,
I didn't totally realize that, kind of that, call it 5 to 8 mile, from the water inland, like how crazy sucked in that fog can be. I was blown away at the USAM. I was like, this is nuts. This is way different than Southern California. It's a super real thing.
Beautiful. I think. Oh, my last final question to you is: you didn't say it was a bad golf course, but Oakmont wasn't one of your favorites.
I was going to say that was my last question too. So
we love Oakmont just because it made the best golfers in the world look foolish, and not because we went out there, we were there for all 3 days before the tournament started. We were like, this is going to be the hardest golf course ever. We didn't have hot takes about how it was going to play. I could get that playing it would be an absolute nightmare, but do you respect the tenacity of the course, and is it the hardest golf course that you've ever played?
Have you guys seen South Park? Are you guys South Park fans at all? I have a point to this.
A little bit.
Okay. Have you ever seen the episode, for those that are on video, they can see, I'm not going to explain it, but have you ever seen, the episode for this one talking about the cable bill?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. So I'll just try and paint a little picture for you real quick. So I played the USAM there, and I go out and I don't know, shoot 76, 78, whatever it was. I don't remember. I get done and I'm walking to the player locker room, and there's some eager, whether it was a member or a guest or a volunteer, I don't remember who it was, but they kind of come up to me and they're like, what'd you think of the course? And I was like, you know what they want to hear. You're like, yeah, it was hard. It played tough. And they were like, yeah, but how hard was it? And you're kind of like, okay, man.
Tell me. Okay.
You're like, well, it was tough. And then, they doubled down. They're like, for the tournament, they actually slowed the greens down because for member place to play, it's even faster. And I'm kind of just like, okay, it's like the Dave Chappelle, this one.
We get it.
Yeah, it's just it's so hard. And I think that place is really, really cool in that it's fostered this almost masochistic culture that is they go out and they enjoy the pain. And the fact that they have been able to kind of nurture and massage that over the years is this really amazing kind of thing that they have. It's not for me. I understand how and why. It's really, really good. It's an amazing test. If you want to go out there, you will figure out really quickly just how good you are at golf and what shots you like to hit versus which ones you may struggle with. I just don't need to go get my ass kicked every single time I go play golf.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is the perfect city for Oakmont. It just stay there and just have it in Pittsburgh and be a thing.
We were fascinated by 30 minutes in, we're seeing people with lawnmowers held above their heads mowing the rough lines with scissors coming out. And that's why I think we love it so much, because to your point, they've embraced making it the most ridiculous hard course they possibly can. And 99.99% of courses aren't willing to commit to the level that Oakmont's willing to commit to do it.
That's well said. And I think, again, I respect it. I think it's really cool. I think that there's totally a place in the game for stuff like that. Just for me, there's a lot of really hard golf courses out there. And I don't need, as I said, I don't need to go get smoked every time I get play. Yeah.
Fair.
Awesome. Stu, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Really appreciate it. You'll have to come on sometime in the future before major or something like that. Get your thoughts if it's a course you've played. We really appreciate you coming on. It's been great chatting with you. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thanks.